Well, hello there, demons. Hope you're doing well. And we are quickly approaching the end of our first unit in world history for sophomores. So, congratulations, you guys are doing great and keep it up. You've only got 2 classes to go for this warm up. This warm up is going to be helping you out to be able to get into SDL mode so you can start off on a really good foot grade wise and as far as what you can do related to history in this class. So what it's asking you to do is just choose 7 eras. These are all the different eras that we're going to be doing in this class. And then based off of that, you're just asked to uh, put it in the correct chronological order. So go ahead and choose 7 eras, pause it, put it in the correct chronological order, and then after you're done, we can check it. Alright guys, well here are the approximate chronological orders for all of our eras that we're going to be kind of going through in this course. So this is through my research, and so I use anything from Wikipedia, and yes, I did see it say Wikipedia. It's a good thing to get base knowledge, in my humble historical opinion, as well as other encyclopedias like Britannica and some university.edu sources. But again, this is up for debate. So if you think that one of these eras is in a different time as far as the historical developments or events that either sparked the beginning of them or caused the end of them to transition into another era, then please, by all means, let me know. Because this is definitely up for debate, and I love talking about that sort of stuff. Okay, so the objective for today is to review the summative assessment process and receive helpful information in order to be set up for success in next class's SDL. And really, we're going to be starting the SDL this class as far as some of our preparation and some of our gathering of different items to make sure that you can have a really quality product that you can turn in for your SDL. As a reminder, you don't need to write this down. It says to write it in your notebook, but I believe that you should have already done that. So check the back of your notebook in your vocab section to make sure you have this definition for SDL, Summative Demonstration of Learning. Same thing for this one, guys. Please check the back of your notebook, your vocab section, to make sure you have this definition for performance indicators. Okay, guys, so here's the prompt for next class's SDL, and again, we're going to be starting at this class. You are going to choose a historical source that you haven't already used in your exit tickets so far, connected to one of the historical eras for this course. Then you're going to evaluate how that source has been influenced by historical context and the author's point of view. That's what this SDL is asking you to do. So again, here are the eras, because remember on the prompt it said tied to one of the historical eras for this course. So you do need to choose one of these eras. That's the first step as you're thinking about what you can do related to this SDL. Choose one of these eras. And I would encourage you guys to choose one that you don't know a lot about. That's one of the great things about history, is that you're able to learn new things. Okay, as a reminder, this should be something that you've gone through and you've done a couple of times, but with your SDL, you're going to need to ask these questions once you gather that source. So we're going to go through a couple of these together, but you're going to need to ask, number one, when and where was the document created? What was different then and what was the same? And how might the circumstances in which the document was created affect its content? So those are the 3 main questions that you need to ask in order to be able to discuss how that source could have been influenced by the historical context. So those are the main things we need to consider. As far as bias and perspective, this gets into the author's point of view. So first of all, there's 2 main questions here. What do we know about the author? So it's kind of an analysis about the author. And then what's the type of source that we're dealing with here? Okay, so under that, in order to be kind of proficient in this area, you need to be getting into a lot of those items that are listed under each of those questions in order to be able to really get an idea of how that source may have been influenced by bias and perspective as a result of the author's point of view. Okay, guys, I wanted to go over the rubric. So this is called scoring criteria. So if you go to the front page of this course, you'll see that there is a link to the slides. And on this slide here, which is slide number 11, there's a link to the scoring criteria. And there's also a link to all social studies scoring criteria on the front page of It's Learning. So I'm hoping that you're shooting for proficient. As a reminder, as far as percentages, this is going to go into the summative category. As far as percentages, as long as you get proficient, that's in the 85%. That's in the 85% range. Going down, 75 for developing, 65 for emerging, 85 again for proficient, and 95 to 100 for exemplary. And that is kind of at the discretion of um, as I'm going through and assessing it. So as a reminder, we've got emerging is 65, 75, 85, 95. So take a look at what it asks you to do as far as these, what it's including, and that'll hopefully give you a really idea of what you need to have on your summative demonstration of learning. Okay, guys, let's go through a sample of this. So I have an image here. This is from NASA. As you can see, the source is NASA. So if we wanted to dig into this, we could always click on that and it'll take me to some information about the source. Actually, let me go ahead and do that. So as that's loading up, we can see that this is astronaut Buzz Aldrin posing for a photograph besides the United States flag on the moon. So this is from, unfortunately, it does not say the total exact date on this, but I believe that and that's what's great about this is you can always Google stuff. When did Buzz Aldrin walk on the moon? 1969. So there we go. So this is from 1969. Based on the image, what event is this? Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon. Discuss the historical context and perspective and how it influenced this source. So that's what this is really getting at, is that taking a look at this document, what is the historical context and what is the perspective? So as we're doing this together, the era is the space age, which it says is from 1957 to present. When and where was the document created? We just said that it was 1969. Where was it created? Well, it was created on the moon. So that's kind of cool, right? What was different then? So then what was different is that the United States, and this is something that you'd need to research a little bit. So I've done some research on this topic. The United States was involved in the space race with the Soviet Union during an era called the Cold War. So that's another era that, as you look on here, you've got the Cold War. So you can see that there's some crossover here. You've got the space age and the Cold War. So this era influenced this era. And so what was different then is that they were basically battling with each other to see who could get on the moon first as part of this space race. So that's something that with the context with this that we really need to take a look at. What was the same? Well, there was still a lot of patriotism. As you can see with the U.S. flag, people in the United States were very nationalistic. They loved being Americans. People in the Soviet Union were also the same. So there's a lot of what is called nationalism that influenced this space race as a result of the Cold War. How might the circumstances in which the document was created affect its content? So that's where I would want to just kind of go a little bit into further detail about the Cold War, the space race, maybe a little bit about Buzz Aldrin, as far as his background, his upbringing, what led him to be an astronaut, etc. So that's as far as historical context. As far as bias and perspective, what do we know about the author? Well, the author, it says, is NASA. NASA is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So that's basically the government agency for the United States that works on space, space shuttles, flights, satellites, in this case, getting astronauts to walk on the moon. So we know that about the author is that it is the United States government, and in the space race, they were really trying to be able to do everything possible as propaganda, which we're going to talk about as we go through this course, to be able to make it seem like we were just so great and we were so much better than the Soviet Union. When a lot of historians actually feel that the Soviet Union was the country that won the space race. So this could be considered a piece of propaganda because you've got that flag there on the moon. You've got Buzz Aldrin that's standing by it, looking awesome. Yes, this is the United States. Yeah. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we know about the author. And this is what type of source is this? This is a photograph that is brought to us by the US government. So that's important to know too, as far as what kind of bias and perspective that this would have. Okay. So I wanted you to do one more sample that you find. If you want to do this with a partner, great, but you don't have to. So I didn't necessarily set up a discussion post because nobody was doing that anyways. So this one is related to the Arab Spring. So you're welcome to be able to do this source. I've got a link right there. It's from March of 2016, and you can kind of dig into that a little bit. But you can choose basically any era that you want that's on that list, right? So if you want to do something all the way going back to the times of the Renaissance, that's totally fine. But just practice it. This isn't for your SDL, this is just for practice, to be able to go through and discuss how historical context and bias and point of view have influenced the source. Okay, here's your assignment, guys. So, as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and put me over here. Okay. This is what the assignment looks like on its learning. And then when you get to its learning and you open it up, there is a link to the slides, these slides right here. So that'll help you out. There's also a link to this Google Doc. So that's what you're actually going to do to be able to answer the assignment. So you're going to go ahead and hit answer, and that will open up this Google Doc right here. And this, you're just going to do what's on day one, the preparation phase, which is today. Okay. So that's all you need to worry about for today. And also, very important here, guys, like it says, you do not need to turn this in today. It's not due until next class at the end of class. So at that time is going to be when we're moving on to day two. And at that time is going to be when we're actually doing the SDL. That's going to be the one that you're actually going to be turning in. Okay. So this is all kind of preparation. So yes, you're going to be answering the assignment. You're going to be starting it in the form of this Google Doc over here. However, you are not going to be hitting the submit button. So if you hit the submit button, then I can tell that you have not watched this video. So please do not do that. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on It's Learning. You can also email me. And great job. Keep it up, guys. Take care.